an exemplar among land-grant institutions of higher education in New England. The University of Massachusetts Amherst has a long history of examining and working to improve humankind's interaction with the land. UMass Amherst was founded in 1863, enabled by a land grant under the Morrill Act signed by President Abraham Lincoln. This is just a year before Lincoln, with another piece of land grant legislation, established Yosemite, creating the precursor to the first national park in the world, a model which has been replicated on 6 continents around the globe. From the start, the UMass curriculum was focused on farming, natural science, technical courses, and the liberal arts. As it expanded rapidly after World War II, UMass Amherst's expertise in planning and landscape design became both well-known and highly respected. Several key UMass conservation-related initiatives have had profound influences on the map and our management of the landscape for more than 3 decades. For example, in the mid-1980s, the university's Center for Rural Massachusetts, in partnership with the Lincoln Institute of Land Policy, published the precursor to Rural by Design, a planning classic that continues to inspire generations of town planners today. In 1986, Gordon Abbott, former head of the Trustees of Reservations and associate director of the Center for Rural Massachusetts, co-authored with Charles Foster a strategy for land conservation in New England, a seminal conservation vision also published by the Lincoln Institute, also highly relevant today. And in 1988, Professor and Extension Forester David Kittredge helped to create one of the first coverts programs in the United States. In the Commonwealth, that program is now known as the Keystone Program. It has trained hundreds of key players across the Commonwealth to make forest sustainability and conservation a high priority among local decision makers. Keystone collaborators have direct control over more than 20,000 acres and are involved through land trusts, conservation commissions, and sportsmen's clubs with more than 175,000 acres. The Keystone Project is now being replicated across the nation. Professor Kittredge was also a lead author of the landmark 2005 Harvard Forest Report entitled Wildlands and Woodlands, A Vision for the Forests of Massachusetts. While working to pull that report together, he was an early champion of woodland councils, now known as regional conservation partnerships, which today spread across New England. Today, UMass Amherst students, faculty, staff, and alumni are enhancing the university's role as an exemplar in the field of conservation in many ways, including the university's collaboration with some 40 other New England colleges and universities in ALPINE, Academics for Land Protection in New England, a critically important endeavor in this age of climate change.
UMass has a very long history of natural resources management. By the late 19th century, the Mass Aggie is when we started first having the first college lectures in forestry in the country. And then in 1930, the department of what we now call the Department of Environmental Conservation was formed.
I found UMass actually through a friend who had gone through the environmental conservation program here. She spoke to me about what it's like to be a student here, and it totally lined up with what I wanted to be doing and what I think is really important work moving forward.
I think in part UMass Amherst, because of its location within Western Massachusetts, within Massachusetts in general, within Southern New England, sits in this really interesting crossroads of phenomenal forests, phenomenal ecology, yet we see all of the development pressures. We have a long and storied history in Massachusetts of land conservation, so I think there's an ethic here. I think people across the country look to Massachusetts for innovation, for ideas. It's a natural sort of stew of characteristics that really poise us very well in the intersection of land conservation and forests and other natural resources.
As I was looking at and thinking about graduate school opportunities, UMass Amherst was one of the schools that I was seriously considering, and they also offered me a research assistantship in a marine fisheries biology program. I decided to accept that opportunity, and it proved to be a great academic experience.
I went to UMass for 3 years while working part-time at Mount Grace. And what was great about that is the flexibility at the University Without Walls, and the courses that I had outlined for myself, I could modify those.
Much of our research is applied. We're very passionate about contributing to land conservation and sustainability. But also we have a very strong commitment in the built environment and sustainable building design and energy systems as well.
The University of Massachusetts has really been focused on sustainability for a significant period of time, and a lot of it has come from the students themselves. So what we've tried to do here is we've tried to give students the opportunity to live sustainability.
UMass has a lot of really hardworking and empowered students that do take on a lot of initiatives.
It's amazing to have those kinds of individuals, these young people, working with us. We all learn from that process and that experience as well. It helps change us in a very, very positive way as an organization. We learn from them, which is wonderful.
The heart of the UMass land conservation effort is the faculty, individuals such as David Kittredge, who transmit the university's culture of conservation from decade to decade.
I found a kindred spirit in Dave Kittredge. I knew that we had done programs together. He's such a bright, creative guy.
We first met Dave Kittredge at a Keystone project. We were debating at that point whether or not we were going to conserve the land. I remember going over to him during the break with my map and saying, "This is what we're thinking about, and I don't know what to do." And he did me the honor of listening, understanding, and saying, "I'll come and walk on your land." He listened to what we wanted, to what we cared about, and helped us develop it that way.
I was first motivated to do conservation by encountering landowners that were selling their land for development because they didn't know they could sell their land for conservation. It's very poignant when you meet a landowner who's so dedicated to keeping their land the way it is, and it's partly because, in many cases, they've fallen in love with it.
There is a lot of land conservation work that's being done in Massachusetts, but I think we could do a better job of involving people whose voices might not be represented in the conservation community. And I think that would just enrich and empower everything that conservationists do.
I would like to see myself in 10 years making an impact in the community that I am surrounded in.
Today, UMass Amherst serves as an exceptional public institution advancing land protection and stewardship. The cumulative impact of the university's conservation-related programs is evident in the talent and enthusiasm of its students in pursuing careers in land conservation, the creativity of the university's faculty in developing a pioneering land conservation curriculum, the courage of the university's leaders in promoting comprehensive, campus-wide sustainability, the outstanding record of UMass alumni in protecting landscapes throughout the Commonwealth, across New England and beyond, and the remarkable effectiveness of the university's extension and outreach programs in enabling the growth of a deeply rooted culture of conservation at the community and regional level.
As proud as I am of the past UMass has had in influencing land conservation, I'm more excited about the future. Our ability to incorporate land protection into the formal academic setting, to have classes, to connect students with land trusts so they can learn what land trusts do, to incorporate that knowledge, that land conservation literacy into their own professions, no matter what they may be, I think our best impact is yet to come.